Mr.
Oh, hi,
Secretary,
Barbara.
hello. I just want to go back to Nike's question because it's kind of puzzling. You had all these statements. General Milley, she mentioned about he doesn't know. Dr. Fauci said there was evidence that strongly indicated the virus evolved in nature, not in a lab.
Yeah, no, that's all.
There
That's
are
all
reports
consistent.
that
That's all
intelligence sharing among Five
Barbara.
Eyes shows it's
Barbara,
very
we've been
unlikely
through
it came from
Barbara.
a lab, and so on. So I'm just wondering.
Yeah.
And also, the IC statement last week doesn't sort of talk about any evidence. Are you basing your assertion on information
Barbara.
that all of these parties do not have? And a second question
Barbara,
about the
Barbara, let
CDC.
me just put this to bed. Your efforts to try and find to spend your whole life trying to drive a little wedge between senior American officials. It's just false. Barbara, every one of those statements is entirely consistent. Every one of them. Lay them down together. There's no separation. We're all trying to figure out the right answer. We're all trying to get to clarity. There are different levels of certainty assessed at different places. That's highly appropriate. People stare at data sets and come to different levels of confidence. Every one of us stares at this and knows the reality. The reality that this came from Wuhan. Every one of us stares at this situation and says, who can provide the answer to precisely where patient zero was from, where this actually came from? We all know who can unlock the keys to that. Every one of those leaders, whether it's Dr. Fauci or General Milley or myself or the president, we all know how to get to this answer. That's where the focus needs to be. It's where our focus is.
Have you made a formal request? Have you asked the CDC to make a formal request for data access?
Yeah, there have been
to the
many.
Wuhan
There have
lab?
been. That's a great question. There have been many formal requests, and we will continue to make formal requests for this information.
Did you get a formal response from Beijing?
You should ask Ambassador Shui, who had a great op-ed this morning, and I can't wait for my daily column in the China Daily News.
Okay, thanks. No, he's got to go.
All right, go ahead. Okay. Yeah.
Following up on my colleague's question, I actually have your statements from last week where you did
Yeah.
a lot of interviews with some of conservative colleagues. Anytime you want to come down and talk to us, by the way, feel free.
Can hardly wait.
But seriously, but you said in multiple interviews on May 1st, April 30th, and other days, some version of, we don't know if the virus came from inside the lab in Wuhan. And then on Sunday, you said there's enormous evidence the
Those are-
virus came from inside the lab.
Those are both true.
So did the intelligence change over the weekend?
Those statements are both true. They're entirely consistent. They're entirely consistent.
So
Why
then-
are you highlighting one and
Wait,
not the other?
let's not.
This entire, I've now answered this question, I think it's the 13th time. Happy to try to answer it again. I'm not sure what it is about the grammar that you can't get. We don't have certainty, and there is significant evidence that this came from the laboratory. Those statements can both be true. I've made them both. Administration officials have made them. They're all true. But
then why-
focus on the most important piece here. The most important piece here is that the American people remain at risk. The American people remain at risk because we do not know. To your point, we don't have certainty about whether it began in the lab or whether it began someplace else. There's an easy way to find out the answer to that. Transparency, openness, the kinds of things that nations do when they really want to be part of solving a global pandemic, when they really want to participate in the things that keep human beings safe and get economies going back again. We'll continue to work on that. We'll continue to get more certainty. And I hope we get an answer. Where did patient zero begin? Where precisely did it start? I hope we get even more evidence about where it came from. And when we do, we'll certainly make that clear as well.
Is there a
So
reason you
thanks,
refrained?
everybody.
Just to correct the record, the